Hey, what's going on, guys? Zibs here, bringing you another tutorial, and before we start, I'd like to say that this will be a longer one. This will be on creating a style, the steps I take, or that anyone else would take, such as finding the textures off of Google, making the materials, making that render, using a color correction, stocks, all of that will be on this one episode instead of like a 5-part series. We'll just make it one long episode. So if you need to take breaks between each thing, that could work. I'm gonna be trying a new editing style, so leave a comment down below what you think of that. And yeah, so the first thing is I have a list here of usually the steps you want to take. So I guess the first one would be finding textures. Now, a lot of people don't really know where to find textures, or beginner designers anyway, I should say. Now, to find textures, usually you could just use Google Images. Now, Google Images is a great place for textures. You just gotta search for the right things. Now, I guess one thing you'd want to search for is, let's say, we'll just make a grunge style. So we'll do HD grunge textures, and then a bunch of pictures will pop up. And as you can see, some will probably be different sizes. So what we're going to do is go search tools, size, and then set it to only large, because we only want large textures because we're going to be messing with materials and spiritual stuff. It's a long story. So generally, you just want to find textures that would look nice on your thing. So you can just scroll through. I'm going to look through some textures, and you will see the list about. Alright, so I have my textures now. Generally, I didn't want to go through each one on the video, basically, because that would take long. When searching for textures, you want to take your time, kind of go through each one, look at it, and yeah. So once you have your textures, depending on what style you make, I'm just going to show you how to make a simple grunge style. So I guess it wouldn't be anything like unique, but it'd teach you how the basics of creating a style. So say if you wanted gel, you put in HD gel styles, same concept. So yeah, so you have your textures here. We have your textures, and generally what we're going to do is just open up a Lightroom. Doesn't really matter too much. Hopefully you do have Lightroom. If not, then you could probably download one, or you could purchase one. It's really up to you. So we're just gonna open up Cinema 4D, and yeah, so the next step would be creating the materials. So yeah, so now that we're in Cinema 4D, what we're going to do is we're just gonna get a random logo. So I'll get, let's just say, I'll just use the Sol logo, I suppose. So generally, if you've watched the Cinema 4D tutorial or basics, this is more of an intermediate tutorial. So this really isn't for too many beginners, more of an intermediate. So hopefully you know how to use Cinema 4D already. So I'm not gonna go over certain things that are very basic that any intermediate person would know. So I'm gonna make this into a 3D extrude, and then set them both to 1. Go to caps, fillet cap, fillet cap, set this to 1, and set this to 1, and we're gonna keep it face forward. Just for now, we're gonna be rotating it later. So we have our logo here, and little pet peeve I have is down here, these axes, it doesn't line up with the logo exactly. So what we're going to do is click this L right here, this L-shaped arrow, just drag it to the center, and then click F2 on your keyboard, and then just bring this blue back until it's in the center of the logo. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just in general. So bring this down just a tad. So I mean, about there will work. And make sure you unclick this, because if you don't, then this will happen, and we don't want that. So just click that. Alright, so now that we have that, just double click down here or go create new, and generally what we're going to do is have our blank material here. So we're going to take off specular, and we're going to go into color, texture, and we're just going to go into our texture folder, and we are just going to pick some textures that we'd like to use. So I'll just use this one as our primary texture. Also, if you guys, I'm going to include this stuff down in the description down below, and a media file link, the materials, all the stuff I use. So yeah, so set this as your texture. So we have our basic texture here. And what we're going to do next is go into bump, and then get a I guess this one, and we're just going to bring it all the way to the left, which will bring it out, adds more detail to it. And yeah, once we've done that, we're going to go into luminance. Well, yeah, we'll go into luminance. Luminance is making things brighter, and diffusion is the total opposite, using textures. So yeah, we're just gonna add, I guess we'll add this one the same as our primary texture. We're just gonna make this color black, and then just kind of bring this just a tad bit, maybe to 50, so it makes it a little bit brighter. And once we've done that, we're gonna go into displacement. We're gonna get some basic displacement. So for displacement, I usually don't use textures, I use noise. Noise is a really good displacement tool you can use. So as you can see, we have a basic displacement, but we're not going to use this. So click this down arrow, click noise, and then click this noise bar, and you're going to have a bunch of settings you can use to mess with this noise. You can change the seed. So what we're going to do is go into noise, and we are going to select a good looking grunge. I'm just going to go through some of these and figure out one that I'll like. Alright, so I'm back, and we're gonna, I decided I'm gonna use BL noise. Oops, not cell noise, BL noise. It's down here at the bottom, and that will give a good displacement. Now, if you want to get out of this menu, you can mess with some things like the seed, just a bunch of stuff like that. If you want to get out of this menu, you can click this arrow here, or you can just click this placement, and it'll bring you back to the main page. And we're gonna check sub polygon displacement. We're gonna leave that at 4, and we might bring the height up to 7. And generally, what we're going to do now is just add this material onto the logo, and we're just gonna see how it looks, if it looks good or if it looks bad. So yeah. Now the reason I had you guys get big textures is for resizing. With small textures, it's going to be really blurry, distorted, and won't look good at all. So generally, if you have your material selected, go into tag, you can edit where the texture is, as you can see. So you can squish it together, you could distort it, which doesn't look good. And yeah, so we're just going to mess with it just a tad, make it HD. Oops. And yeah, so generally just move it around till you find something that you like. That looks HD. So I guess maybe something like this, maybe. So let's say you don't want to render this whole thing. Some things you could do is, if you hold down click, go to render region, left click, don't let go, and just select, have a square where a part where you want to render. So say you want to render this part, just bring the square over that, let go, and then it'll start rendering that one part instead of the whole render, which is very useful. And yeah, so once we've done that, I like the way that looks. It looks nice. So once we've done that, we have our primary material done. Now keep in mind, I didn't use all the textures that I found. That can be the case a lot of the times that you don't use the textures that you found, or that you find. So yeah, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to use every texture, just something that will look good. Just make a folder of textures, like a texture pack. I have one right here. I always keep all my textures that I find, so I don't have to go searching for it every time I need it. And yeah, so once we've done that, we're going to start by making a basic setup for a render, which I made a couple tutorials on, but I decided why not, we'll do the full thing. So yeah, so just add 3 atom arrays, or generally how many ever extrude NURBs there are. So in this case there's 3 for the Sol logo. And make sure you duplicate the extrude NURB like I didn't explain it, but you just duplicate it and drag each extrude into the atom array, which will make a nice looking outline. But as you can see, there's these spheres around each edge, which we don't want that. Generally doesn't look too good. So we're just gonna set the sphere radius to 2, and that's a little big, so we're just gonna set it to 1, I suppose. See what 1 looks like. That looks pretty good. And what we're going to do is make another material. This one, take off specular and make a dark gray. And maybe add a reflection to it. Bring it down just a tad, maybe 32%. And just drag this over the atom array, like so. Set these to cubic seamless, and we're gonna render part of it to see what it looks like, see if it looks good or not. I'm just kind of winging this. I don't have anything prepared, like material-wise. I'm just kind of going with the flow. So, let's see here. If I render the whole thing, what will the outline look like? So making a style generally is just a lot of testing things out to see what looks good and what doesn't. So you always want to keep that in mind. Generally, just kind of go over things over and over until you find something you like. So I'm liking the way this looks with the look of it. Has a nice little chromey kind of look to it. Very basic, doesn't require any textures either. Just set it to a dark gray, turn on reflection, and there you go. You're good. So once we've done that, what we're going to do is maybe add a landscape. Select this landscape, an object, and go spherical, and select this, or T for hotkey. All you hotkeys out there, select T and then hold left click and just drag it to the left, and it'll make the sphere or the landscape gradually smaller. Now we'll just have it this size. Now make sure it's important that you guys don't move it yet. Don't move it at all. So go now into your this blue square and get a platonic. What a platonic is a type of outline we're gonna make with it. So go into object, don't mess with any of this, go to type and set it to Bucky. Bucky is kind of like a soccer ball type deal. It's kind of really cool, it has nice edges. It's a good outline tool. So tetra and then to Bucky. So once we've done that, we're gonna go into this flower looking thing, go atom array, drag the platonic into the atom array, select your sphere radius and set it to 2. Now we want to make sure that we leave these thick, so when we make the landscape bigger to fit it, it doesn't overpower it and it doesn't look too thin when we add it to this solid level. So just take your landscape, push T, now left click, and then move your mouse to the right to gradually make it bigger. So we're just going to have some of it popping out and a lot of it kind of in this soccer ball. We're just going to call it a soccer ball. So yeah, the landscape's kind of popping out on some parts and a lot of it's like kind of in the soccer ball. So that's generally what we want. And what we're going to do is just kind of drag our, this amount we made? Yes. Make sure you name your materials, it's useful. And what we're going to do is use our chrome and set this as our atom array. Boom, boom. And what we're going to do next is, I guess, I'm going to pre-render this out to see what it looks like really quick with the chrome material we made. Yeah, that'll work, I suppose. I like it. Now, so once we've done that, generally, we want to put a color in here. So that's where textures come in, depending on the style. You got to think about everything. Now, for the sake of this tutorial, I didn't get those textures. I just got the grunge ones. So I'm just going to quickly make a material. So I'm just going to experiment with this. I'm just kind of winging this for this material in particular. So we're just going to go into color. We'll make it a red, I suppose. Red's a good color. So we'll make a darker red. Maybe a reflection, not a reflection, environment. We'll use red, dark red. Try this out. No. Maybe a glow. A glow could look nice. So set your inner glow to 0. Set your outer glow to maybe 60%. And just kind of drag that inward. And we're going to see what this looks like. It'll either look good or look bad. Making styles is a lot of testing. So yeah. So I guess I could work with this, I suppose. Yeah. Or well, yeah, I like this. It works. Generally, you don't want to do this for the sake that you actually want to find good materials for red. But for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just doing that to save time, since this is already going to be a really long tutorial. So once we have those, we're just going to make it gradually small. About, maybe a little bit smaller, about this size, I suppose, very small. And we're just going to go into group objects to make it a null, then go MoGraph cloner, drag the null into the cloner, and it will make a 3 count, like stripe, like it's going vertically. So what we're going to start off with, in the object mode, go to linear, select grid array, which will make a 3x3 square. And you can edit this if you want with the count, but we're going to leave it 3. You can edit the size of each one, which this will be what we're messing with today. So generally, for this sake, you just kind of want to fix the camera there. Yeah, you want to have good camera. So just kind of drag it inward, so maybe something like this, kind of scooch together, kind of where they're touching and overlapping each other. And for the middle one, we just kind of want to squeeze them together, same thing. And then this one just kind of miss just a tad, not a whole lot. Oh, I'd say that's about good. Well, actually, I'm gonna make it a little bit thicker inward. About something like this would work. And what we're going to do next is go into MoGraph. Make sure your cloner is selected, like click it so it's highlighted. Go MoGraph, Effector, Random, and that will make a randomized cloner for your background of the logo. So you can just bring this behind the logo. And we're just gonna drag it down. Maybe something like this. Just modify it just a tad. Fit something like this actually could look nice. Boom. And once we've done that, drag it to the right. Oh, I like that. I guess that could work. Something like that, and I'm gonna drag it backwards. Whoops. You just kind of want to mess around with it where it's just kind of barely showing. Maybe something like that. Something like that, I suppose. Let me render this out really quick to see what it will look like. Like I said, a lot of rendering for like time. So so far, what we've got done is textures. We've got materials done, which will be included down in the description down below, so don't worry. And we're right now currently working on a setup for the style. Now, obviously, this isn't a new style, because a lot of people do this, but this would be generally the setup of a new style that these would be the steps you would take. So as this renders out, you just kind of want to wait depending on your computer, you know, the basics. So yeah, so if you've enjoyed this part so far, leave a like down below, and if you want to see more stuff like this, leave a like down below. I'm trying out a new editing style, so yeah. So we're just gonna wait for this. I guess we will just cut now. Alright, so we're back. And we have our render done, and I think it looks pretty nice. Now, I would use some plugins, but I'm trying to avoid plugins, just for the fact that it makes things easier if you don't have the plugins. This is all just vanilla Cinema 4D stuff that we're doing here. So yeah, I guess once we've done that, I guess I kind of want to make the Saw logo just a tad bit bigger, just a little bit, maybe something like that. Yeah, that'll work. Make sure, that'll work. And once we've done that, what we're going to do is select everything besides your lights and camera, or whatever Lightroom you're using. Select all the things that you've made, the logo, whatever you've done. So yeah, so basically what we're going to do is, that's the vanilla version of Cinema 4D. This will work, just render this out and it'll work, but this part will be the plugin part if you would like. It's optional. So what we're going to do is going to make sure you have these 3 plugins, or these 2 Reaper X. Doesn't matter what Reaper X you use, I'm just using 2.0, and Umami. You most likely have Reaper X, but you might have Umami, but whatever it is, yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with Reaper X. So get your curvy tool here, go to freehand, and just kind of go over it like so. Kind of scribble over it. Go plugins, Reaper X, drag your spline into the Reaper, select your strands to 1, and then bring your radius down a bunch, something like this, and just drag it behind the logo. Well, not behind it, but kind of in it, sort of, so something along the lines of this. And just make it your red material. And once you've done that, that's good. And then we're gonna use, well, we're not gonna use this plugin, we're just gonna use Reaper X. So Reaper X is optional, you can render it out like this or like this. I'll render it out like this because why not. So once we've done this, is for the vanilla and the plugin part. Just select all the things you've made. Select, oops, not you. Select this and just click anywhere in the circle. So I guess on the top right from the red and the green. Click, drag, and then drag it upward, so kind of where you would want it to face. So something like this. Now generally a lot of people I've noticed with, for beginners when they make their banners is they like to do like things like this, which can look good, but I mean they have it face forward, which I admit I've done in some of my banners. It's just kind of basic, unless you can pull it off very nicely. Sometimes, a lot of the times for banners it looks nicer when you have the logo facing upward instead of downward. Banners can look nice downward, don't get me wrong, but it's more challenging to pull off, I feel. So we're just gonna kind of have it something like this, and I'm gonna rotate it. Oops. Something like this. I'm gonna center it. Just rotate it just a tad. This is really up to you. So something like this might work. Yeah, I guess that'll work. Actually, I feel like doing something like, wait for it. Oops. Yeah. Select everything. Actually, might do this. Good. Kind of in the mood to do that. So I'm just gonna make this thicker. The movement 45. And if I render this out, I'm gonna cut it right about now.
As long as we're together, there's no place I'd rather be. With every step we take, Kyoto to the bay, strolling so casually. We're different and the same, yeah, you and I can make switch up the batteries.
Alright, we're back in Photoshop. So I've opened up the pack and the render. Now, generally for making a style, I feel the most important things are the color correction and the materials you use. I feel those make the biggest differences on styles. Stocks are important too, obviously, but I feel like those are the most important ones. So we're just gonna resize this into the center of the banner. Dimensions. So I guess something like that. Well, right there is just close enough to the center. And what we're going to do is, you don't really need this anymore. We're going to make our color correction. So to do that, make a folder, name it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it color correction. And we're going to start off with our gradient map. Now, we're going to select reverse. Generally, what you want to do is you want to have our black on the far left and have it white on the far right. And actually, you might want to have it the other way, like that. There. So black on the left, white on the right. And what a gradient map does is, if you set this to overlay, whoops, if you set it to overlay, it'll make it very dark. And yeah, we want that. We want a dark color correction since it's grunge. Now this is too dark, so we're gonna set this to like 50%. And once we've done that, we're gonna go into here, go hue and saturation, we're just gonna kind of pick a different type of red. Let's say that works. And once you've done that, we're gonna go into a gradient. Select the gradient, which is on the top, and get a very dark red, and then select this gray and make it a black. This will add some good lighting into the banner without you adding a bunch of lights. So we're just gonna select this, bring the opacity down, of course, and once you've done that, go into photo filter. We'll just kind of make this kind of like an orange, I suppose. Orange will work. And I mean, those are the main things. You could do some vibrance if you wanted, if you bring the saturation up. Which, I mean, you could if you like. I guess I might as well make it some more red. So I guess something like this would work. And yeah, so you just want to mess with these things. You could add curves if you really needed to. I mean, just kind of like mess with basic things. Gradient, hue, gradient, photo, vibrance, curves. Make sure it's in this filter, or else it can mess things up. So I'll just sit here, like, screenshot this if you'd like, so then you could remember this setup, which will give you good color corrections. So yeah, we have our color correction here, and what we're going to do is just going to go over each part of the top, to make it a tad bit brighter, because I feel it's just a tad bit darker than what I'd like it to be. Let's just kind of go over it. You could do this. Here's one way you could do it. Go fill and then make it white. That's one way, and you could go over each one and blah blah blah. Or you could go over it with a new layer. Select your brush. Get a soft brush. Set it to very low, maybe about this size, well, whatever the size is, and you just want to go over it, something like this, which I'll just do this, I guess, it's quicker, for the sake of the tutorial, because it's already long enough. So we're just going to go over it like this, and then select overlay, and that will make it brighter. That's all you got to do. Oops. Make sure you always click enter when you do stuff, because like, if it's blue like this, then if you use your scroll wheel, it'll go through each setting. So like that. So I like that. Now we're gonna go into the pack. If you need a pack, you can buy this one if you'd like. It's on my store, which is down in the description down below. Or you could use a free pack, just whatever pack. So generally, what we're going to get, we're gonna start off with some smoke. Smoke is very useful. It keeps it where it's not just a plain black background. So we're just gonna select a good smoke. I guess I'll do number 4. 4 is a really nice one for the top and bottom. So we're just gonna go over here. Make sure your smokes are behind the render, so it doesn't interfere with coloring and whatnot. We might raise this just a tad bit since it's darker. We're gonna raise the opacity to maybe 20%. Duplicate it with Control J. Go edit, transform, flip vertical, and then just drag this one up, and then that'll work for those two. And then now we want to get a corner smoke. That's usually what I just call it. I don't know the exact name. I guess it's just smoke in a corner, or meant for a corner. And once you've done that, just drag this in a corner, duplicate it, Control J, edit, transform, flip vertical, Control T to move it, hold shift, and just drag it to the left, which that will keep it from, like, going out of distortion, I think is the word, or not distortion, so it doesn't lose its shape. So I messed this up. Control J, boom, what? I'm so confused right now. Oh, I see what I did wrong. Duplicate, flip, transform horizontal, not vertical, my bad. Just drag this to the left, kinda, something like this. Lower the opacity on both of these to maybe 60. Just kidding, 40. And then get one more set of smoke, which will be the smoke that is around the render, so it blends in well. So we're just gonna bring this one up over the render. This is the only smoke that'll be over the render. Just kind of have it like this, and just erase it. Erase the parts that are over the render. So we just have an outline of it. So kind of erase all of this. Boom, simple enough. Erase all of this. Something like this, doesn't have to be exact. And then just lower the opacity. Oops. Just lower the opacity a bunch on this by just doing that, I guess. So once you've done that, we have our smoke set. And so there's that. So we have our smoke set. So now we're gonna mess with particles. Particles and smoke keep your background from just being a plain black, which is good for blending in stocks. And yes, you just want to have smoke. It's very important. So once you have that, we're gonna mess with particles. Particles can really make a banner, I feel, depending if you use them right. So we're gonna start with a number 2, which is kind of thicker particles. This will be kind of the outer part of the banner that generally is just kind of there for detail. Just kind of duplicate it like so, and then just lower the opacity a bunch on these. Maybe like, you just want to have them barely showing. So something like 18%, like really low. And once we've done that, now we're gonna start with thicker particles around the render. I usually do this a lot in my banners, is these type of particles. I always have this like outlining around the banner, or the render I should say. So you just want to have these ones over, and we're just gonna duplicate it. So something like this, and we're gonna merge them together. And then set to linear dodge, because that's what it was set to originally. Oops. Linear dodge, boom, enter. And now we're just going to erase part of that's over the render, sort of. We still want to have some showing over, but not a whole lot. Just showing something like that. Whoops. And once we've done that, we're going to lower the opacity down, maybe 50%, 48, just around there, depending on the render you're doing. And once you've done that, we're just gonna select maybe smaller stuff, like, I don't know, just whatever you need. So I guess we can try 13 out. Now this is a must for all your banners, is smoke and particles. Just kind of like a routine, you could say, for when making banners. Is, I mean, of course they're overused, but I mean, it's just kind of there, like it's a must. They're very important. So once you've done that, what we're going to do is mess with stocks. Now stocks depend on the type. Well, actually we might do lighting. No, we'll do lighting later. Let's do stocks now. So we'll do stocks. Stocks depend on the style you did. Now for example, if you see my ancient style, I used flares as my stocks. Now this one, we could use flares, yeah, but I don't know how it would look. So we're just gonna mess with a couple stocks, see how it comes out, and yeah, so I guess we'll use number 6. 6 is a very popular stock, but I mean, it's a very cool stock, so that's why it's popular. So we're just going to set this over the render. It's blue because in making the color correction, I already made these materials red, and I decided to make a red color correction, so it kind of messed things up with other colors. So if you want to change colors, just go Control U. And just kind of mess with this until you get red, or at least close to a red. So something like this would work. Duplicate this over to the second part, and then just merge these together. Always remember what this setting was. This one was set to screen, and with this, now what we're going to do is just, whoops, leave this on screen, enter, and now we're just going to erase the parts of the saw, the grunge part. Something. Now this part you might want to take your time on, because it can really pay off if you take your time on it. Well, you should always take your time on whatever it is. Just take your time, it pays off in the end. I'm just kind of rushing it due to the fact of the tutorial. Once again, I sound like a broken record. But yeah, so once you've done that, we're going to just kind of erase, whoops, I'm going to set a bigger brush. Just kind of erase some of it, this outer part, so it's not so thick, something like this. And we're just going to lower the opacity just a bunch, maybe like, I guess that'll do. Maybe 38%. Well, actually, kind of like that. We're gonna leave it at that. Yeah, I like that. So we're gonna leave it at 54%. And once we've done that, we're going to add some flares. I'm going to attempt a flare, see what it looks like. It may or may not work. If it doesn't, then I'll remove it and call it good. But if it does, then, well, it works. We can add it into the style. So once you've done that, just, you know, got your typical drag it into one part, which, I mean, it could work. Boom, Control U. I kind of want to make it into darker red, like a thicker red, like how we had it. So I guess I'd oversaturate it. Just a tad, not too much. Something like this, and then, whoops, don't want to mess with that, my bad. Is it this? No, where's the flare? Where did I put it? Oh, there it is, number 3. So Control U, just kind of, we don't want to oversaturate it, so we're just going to bring it down, just until we start getting that, like, thicker red, I guess. But I don't want to oversaturate it. We might just do this, see how it works, and just kind of erase part of this, so it's just having that flare over the S. Duplicate it, have it over, I guess, here, and one here, and then one here. Ooh, I like that. It works. And then just kind of erase this. Go through each one until you find it. It might be hard to see, but yeah, I like that. And we're just gonna select all the flares. Whoops. I've been saying whoops a lot. We're just gonna lower the opacity just a tad bit, where just some red showing. So something like this. I like this. And generally, I mean, that's what we'll do for the sake of this tutorial. I showed you stocks, blending, things like that. Now it's filters. Now for filters, it's very important that you have magic bullet looks, photo looks. This is kind of just like one of those things that's like a must-have, like Nitrous Blast and Cinema. It's just something that's very useful and that you should have in general. Now there's ways you could get it for free, but I recommend you guys purchase it. But for the sake, we're just gonna assume you have it. So yeah. I'm going to show you how to use photo looks, some blur, and some more filters. So select everything you have, all your work, even the outer and the inner part, duplicate it with Control J, and then right click, merge layers, duplicate that again, go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And now we're just going to erase part of the logo, so something like this. And we're just going to lower the opacity to about 70%. So it still shows other things, but this is the main focus. We're going to merge those together, duplicate, filter, other, high pass, set this to overlay, and then, maybe bring it down to about 70%. Now what I just did was I made it sharper. High pass makes things sharper without making it look nasty. So yeah, always keep that in mind, very useful. Once you've done that, we're gonna go into magic bullet looks, photo looks, and it'll take a second to load. Just wait for it. Now, once we've done that, you might have some different things, but just kind of have your banner here. And oops. What you want to do is basically, if you move your mouse to the right, you have a bunch of custom settings that you can make your own. If you move to the left, you have a bunch of pre-made color corrections, which sometimes you can get lucky and find a good one, like this one. That one actually looks really cool, but we're not going to use that. Just show you how to make it. So move your mouse to the right, go to Lens, and start with a edge softness. Now what edge softness is it adds blur. It kind of adds a circle, so you have an outer circle and the inner circle. That kind of determines how much blur you have. Generally, you don't want to have a whole bunch of blur, just kind of on the outer part of the banner, just for some extra detail. And once we've done that, get a vignette, which is kind of like a tint, like a darker tint, which we're going to have on the outer part. Oops. something like that. That'll work. Just where it's focusing on the logo and not the outer part too much. And once we have done that, we might as well do a swing tilt, I guess. It'll work. So once you have a swing tilt, generally I'll teach you how to show it. So first off, set your quality to 10 and have this have them intersecting in the center of the logo. So you want to have it something like this. If you need to pause the video to look and understand how it looks, there's that. And select this bottom line here, just drag it down, keep sure it's in the center, do the same for the top, and then just drag this yellow line into the middle of the logo so there's still blur there, and that will give you a nice blur. Now it may seem a little weird on here, but when it comes together, whoops, I just messed it up. Let me just quickly fix it. Just boom, boom, boom. Just kind of quickly fix it, because I messed it up. But when you actually render it out, it may not look good on Magic Bullets, but when we render it out, it'll look pretty cool. So this is kind of optional. It only works sometimes, but I guess for this case it could work. Yeah, it'll work. So we'll do something like, just kind of have a very small amount. Well, no, we're not going to use it. Never mind. Forget that. That sometimes works. For this case, it doesn't work. So just once you have these 3 settings, click OK. And it will have a loading screen. It may take a little bit because it's doing a lot of blur and effects. So yeah, just be patient. Generally, doesn't take too long. But there's that. So once we've done that, there's one more thing we're gonna do. Well, 2 more things I should say. So we'll merge them together. Duplicate it with Control J. Double click the preview. Now you'll start off in blending options. Go to Advanced Blending and check. Start with red. Check OK. And then select your live selection tool, and on your keyboard you have these arrow keys. Just move it to the right a couple times. Yeah, like that. Move it to the right once if you're copying this exactly step by step. But generally, if you're making your own style and just following the steps that I showed you, it will just come along to whatever you need. A lot of the stuff is just modified to the style. I'm just showing you the steps on how I make my styles. So once you've done that, a lot of people, either they don't claim their banners or they don't do it right. Like, they make it more eye-appealing than the banner itself. Now I'm going to show you a cool little technique you can do to make it where it's not too eye-appealing, but it's still there so people know you made it. And yeah, so just select a font, kind of like a cleaner font. You don't want to have some funky like graffiti font, and just select a, it doesn't matter, I'm just going to use this layer style. I'll use this one, and then just kind of make a underline under it, something like this, very thin. You want to thin fill white. Boom, select that, and then just select the banner that you want. So I'll just say saw banner. Make this about 20, generally the size of the underline, the rectangle. Select that, and now what you want to do is you want to select them all, merge them together, and Control T to select them. Hold Shift, drag it to the center, so it minimizes it and it keeps its proportion. Now once you've done that, just drag it down just a bit more until you bring it to the the bottom right corner. I'm gonna zoom in just a bit. Oops. About, I guess right here would work. And just lower it down a bunch to like 11%. That'll work. So, whew, what a tutorial, guys. This has been a total of 51 minutes, so we're gonna average that to about an hour. An hour-long tutorial. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. It definitely did take a lot to make. This is how I make my styles. Generally, I start with Google, get the textures, make materials, make a nice setup, and then I just go from there. So hopefully you learned a lot today, like useful tips and stuff, and If you enjoyed it, please leave a like down below. It's very useful, and we can use it for feedback with comments. And yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed the cool little editing I did, transitions, whatnot. And down below we'll include the textures for the material I used and the color correction, just those things. And yeah, so I'm Zebs, and I have been your host today, and I am out. Peace.